Welcome to StaalX Construction and Steel Podcast. Episode 16. Is Great Stagnation of Housing Market Dissipating? What needs to change for a fundamental fix? The global steel market moves fast. To stay ahead, you need more than just data, you need a partner. Support for today's episode comes from StaalX. We're redefining steel trading through transparency, technology, and global reach. From the job site to the boardroom, StaalX delivers the strength your projects demand. Visit StaalX.com to learn more. Now, let's get into the market.
Okay, Thursday, January 29, 2026.
Right.
I want you to just mentally circle that date.
Right.
Because if you've been paying any attention to the housing market for the last, 3 years, it has felt like this endless game of wait and see.
Oh, a total staring contest. It was just frozen. Buyers, sellers, builders. Nobody blinked.
And we basically lost a few years of normal market activity because of it.
We did.
But looking at the stack of research on the desk today, I think we can finally say the staring contest might be over.
It feels like someone finally blinked. Or maybe everyone blinked at the same time. We have hard data now. The machinery is actually moving.
It's grinding a bit, but it's moving.
The wheels are turning, yeah.
So here's our mission for this deep dive. We're going to connect three really distinct layers of the housing ecosystem, the things that usually get talked about in completely different rooms.
Totally separate conversations.
Exactly. We're not just looking at home prices, we're looking at the momentum of buyers right now. Then the structural reforms needed to keep that momentum going. And finally, we're going to get into the literal nuts and bolts.
Or the rebar and wire rod.
Right. The steel market. Because if you can't build it affordably, you can't sell it. We've got the latest housing market tracker data, policy analysis on restoring the housing ladder, and the StaalX steel market report.
It's a great mix. And I will say, while the data is finally positive, we have to be cautious. The engine is turning over, yes, but the underlying machinery still needs a pretty serious tune-up.
I love that car analogy. Let's start with the fuel, then the buyers. There's been this idea of a magic number for mortgage rates, right? A threshold where psychology shifts.
There is, and this insight comes from analyst Logan Mohtashami. He's been saying for years that history shows demand really strengthens when rates approach 6%.
Why 6%? What's so special about that number?
Well, it's as much psychological as it is financial. At 7 or 8%, the payment shock is just too high. But at 6, the math starts to pencil out for more people. And the early 2026 data, well, it suggests the theory is holding up.
Okay, 6% is the green light. But I want proof. Momentum is a word that gets thrown around a lot. Show me the receipts.
We have the receipts, and they are in the weekly pending sales. This is the clearest indicator of what's happening right now.
Okay, walk me through it.
So, week ending January 2nd, everyone's just getting back to work. We had 30,538 pending sales.
I had it quiet.
A slow start. But watch this. January 9th, it jumps to 39,841. January 16th, we hit 50,096.
Okay.
And the latest data, for the week ending January 23rd, we are at 56,252.
Whoa, hang on. From just over 30,000 to over 56,000 in less than 4 weeks.
It almost doubled.
That's not a spreadsheet update. That's what, 26,000 more family signing contracts? That feels like real activity.
It is. And what's crucial is the consistency. It's not one weird week. It's a steady upward climb. It suggests this is actual demand hitting the market, not just a post-holiday blip.
But are people just window shopping, browsing Zillow at 2 a.m.? Are they actually applying for the money?
That's the other key indicator. Purchase applications, they're up 5% week over week. But here's the big one. They're up 18% year over year.
18%. That's a huge jump. But isn't that just because early 2025 was so bad, the whole low base effect?
That's a fair question, and normally I'd say yes, but we're past that now. The comparison base wasn't that catastrophic. This double-digit growth is real volume entering the system.
And purchase apps are a leading indicator.
Exactly. They lead closed sales by 30 to 90 days. This tells us February and March are going to be busy. The pipeline is filling up.
Okay, so buyers are awake. What about sellers? Are they still hugging their 3% mortgage rates?
That freeze is thawing. Slowly. We saw about 54,000 new listings last week.
54,000 new listings versus 56,000 pending sales. That math feels tight.
It is tight. Total active inventory is around 698,000. And the key metric, months of supply, is at 2.6 months.
So what does 2.6 months of supply actually mean for someone trying to buy a house this weekend? Am I in a bidding war?
It means you don't have all the power, unfortunately. A balanced market is 4 to 6 months, so we're still in seller-favorable territory.
But it's not the chaos of 2022.
No, not at all. It's what we'd call a functional market. You're probably not waiving your inspection. You're not paying 50 grand over asking. It's stable.
Functional? I like functional.
And the pricing data backs that up. Median list price is steady at $419,900. And price cuts are flat, around 33.6% of listings. If sellers were panicking, that number would be skyrocketing.
It's not, so we're normalizing.
We are.
The engine is starting. But to go back to your analogy, is the car roadworthy? Because if the transmission is busted, we're not going anywhere.
And that's the pivot. This is where we have to talk about the structural issues, because affordability isn't just about rates. We have built-in problems in the system, in the tax code, that are blocking people.
Which brings us to this policy paper on structural reforms. And there was one thing in there that it made me angry when I read it, the tax lock.
It's huge, and it's something almost nobody talks about.
So break it down. Why is the tax code breaking the housing market?
Okay, so when you sell your primary home, you can exclude up to $250,000 of capital gains if you're single, or $500,000 if you're married.
Which sounds like a ton of money.
There's a lot of money in 1997.
I mean, 1997, that hasn't changed since 1997.
That's the problem. Home prices have surged for almost 30 years, but the tax exemption has stayed flat. By 2030, the estimate is that 56% of homeowners will have gains that exceed those caps.
56%?
Yeah.
Wow. So let's paint a picture. A retired couple, Bill and Linda, they bought a big 4-bedroom home in 1985 for $100 grand. Now it's worth $1.5 million.
Right. They want to downsize. But their gain is $1.4 million. They get the $500,000 exclusion, but they still have $900,000 of taxable gain. They could owe the IRS hundreds of thousands of dollars just to sell their house.
So they just say, forget it.
They stay put. They're trapped. And because they're trapped, that big family home never goes on the market for the young family that desperately needs it. It's a bottleneck.
It's like clogging a drain. Nothing flows.
Exactly. So the fix is obvious. Just index the cap to inflation. Let Bill and Linda move. Let the next family move up. It's not a handout. It's just fixing a broken pipe.
That feels like such a huge aha moment. Okay, what about the other one? The refinance wall.
This is about looking ahead. Rates will eventually drop more and millions of people will want to refi, but the process is clunky. Closing costs, paperwork, it eats up the savings.
Friction costs.
Right. And then you have these things called LLPAs.
LLPAs. What's an LLPA?
Loan level price adjustments. They're basically risk fees. If your credit isn't perfect, Fannie and Freddie charge you extra.
Okay, that makes sense when you first buy. But for a refi?
That's the catch. The proposal is simple. If you have 12 months of on-time payments and can drop your rate by 0.5%, the refi should be automatic. Why are we charging a risk tax to someone who is lowering their payment? They're becoming a safer borrower.
When you put it that way, it seems absurd.
Just eliminate those fees for these refis. It puts money back in people's pockets immediately.
Okay, that makes too much sense. But let's talk supply. We can fix the loans, but if we don't have enough houses...
We're just playing musical chairs, and that's the math problem. We need to build more. The report points to two levers: zoning reform and manufactured housing.
I mean mobile homes.
I mean modern, high-quality manufactured homes. We have to get past the stigma. The killer stat is they cost 50% less per square foot to build. 50%.
Half price. That completely changes the affordability equation.
It does, but they're held back by red tape. If the FHFA supported a secondary market for these mortgages, treating them like regular homes, it would unlock a massive amount of affordable inventory.
Funny how we look for futuristic solutions when sometimes the answer is just build it in a factory.
It's about efficiency, but, and this is a huge but, you can't build any of it without materials.
And that brings us to layer 3. We're going from policy papers to the job site. The StaalX Steel Market Report.
The foundation. Literally, no housing boom without concrete and steel.
So StaalX was just at the World of Concrete Expo in Vegas. What's the vibe at a concrete expo?
It's loud. Very, very loud. But the report says the mood was optimistic. Contractors aren't as swamped as a few years ago, but they have healthy backlogs. They're less busy, but they're making money.
There's always a catch in commodities, though. What is it?
The catch is rebar. It's the wild card for 2026.
Why rebar? It's just metal sticks.
It's the trade politics behind the sticks. In 2025, steel tariffs doubled to 50%. Imports cratered. Domestic prices shot up.
Okay.
Now, domestic prices are so high that imports are starting to look attractive again, even with the tariffs. But our usual cheap sources are off the table due to trade cases.
So who fills the gap?
Turkey and South Korea. The report talks about a Korean surge. Korean mills are boosting exports to the U.S. because prices in their own region are depressed.
So a flood of cheap Korean steel is coming.
That's the fear. And think about what that does. If you're a developer planning a condo complex and you think rebar prices might drop 20% in 3 months, what do?
I wait. I don't buy today.
You play chicken with the market. And that hesitation slows down projects. If you don't order the steel, you don't pour the foundation, the whole timeline gets pushed back.
So a condo isn't ready in 2027 because of Korean import prices in early 2026.
Precisely. It's that connected. And you have new domestic mills coming online too, so they'll be fighting for market share. It's going to be a battleground, which means price volatility.
So let's tie this all together, from mortgage apps to tax law to rebar.
If you zoom out, the story of early 2026 is a 3-act play.
Okay.
Lay it out. Act 1, the buyer's return. That's the January data. The demand is here.
Act 2.
Act 2, the structural blockade. The demand is here, but we need to unlock inventory. That's the policy stuff. Fix the tax lock, streamline refinancing.
And Act 3.
Act 3, the physical build. We have to construct the new homes, and that depends on a stable materials market. If rebar prices go haywire, it slows down the very solution we need.
It just shows you can't look at one number. You can't just see mortgage rates on TV and think you know the whole story.
You have to look at the whole ecosystem.
Yeah.
Which brings me to the big question I think we should leave you with.
Let's hear it.
We are seeing a recovering market in the data. The pulse is strong. But if we don't fix that tax lock, if we don't index that capital gains exemption, are we just arranging deck chairs on a ship that has no room for new passengers?
And that is a haunting image.
Think about it. We can stimulate demand all we want, but if the inventory is legally and financially trapped in the hands of people who want to sell but can't afford the tax bill, the market never truly heals.
They're creating buyers for houses that can't be sold. That is the thought to chew on. Is the bottleneck money, or is it policy? I think today we learned it might be the latter.
It certainly looks that way.
Well, that wraps up our deep dive. Hopefully you feel a little smarter about everything from capital gains to steel beams. Thanks for listening.
Take care, everyone.
Thank you for listening. Explore more at www.staalx.com.